Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had fun.
You look beautiful, Thomas.
All right, I'm touched up, dude. I'm fucking so hot. I'm putting a video of this on my Hinge.
This is what all the girls are doing that no guy even knows about.
Oh no, it's getting bad out there. The catfishing is eventually they're gonna have to make it like a crime.
We need to ask Gabe Tardio about that. He's like deep in Tinder.
Oh boy.
How old is Gabe? Can he even like go on the apps?
I think he's 19, I think. Or
oh, he's on the apps.
Yeah.
You seen it?
Legally or illegal, he's on the apps.
Kaitlyn, where are you?
I'm at home. I'm actually in my new. It's still coming together, but I don't know if you can see. I like got like different lights and like whatever. But I'm creating a podcast studio in my second bedroom, so I'm in New Jersey.
Nice. Okay.
Hi.
All right.
Where are you guys? I know you're in Virginia Beach, Zane. You just won. I know you won singles. You beat Ryan Fu. Did you win mixed? I didn't check.
Lost in mixed, but oh well.
Okay. All right.
Oh well. All right, you guys want to run it? Oh
yeah, let's go.
Men's tomorrow, so we were in the round of 32.
Nice.
Tommy, anything else?
And who you playing with?
I got Johnny Sincola.
Oh, nice. Such a good guy.
I love Johnny.
And Thomas, are you in Austin?
Yep.
Cool.
And we're running it, by the way. Okay. You think I'm going to make 2 jokes, have Kaitlyn laugh like that, and then we're just going to cut that out?
No one told.
That's how we roll.
All right, 3 for 3.
Oh, God.
All right, Kaitlyn, welcome to the Pickle Pod. I feel like it's long overdue.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to be here. Thanks for having me. Have been loving what you guys have been doing so far, the guests you've had on, and I appreciate you guys talking all things pickleball.
Nice. I like that. We don't get a lot of appreciation out here.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, what you guys do, like just starting a podcast is very vulnerable in and of itself, like putting yourself out there every week, you know, it's kind of unhinged at times. So I appreciate that, you know, and Zane has his deposit box every time he curses. I'm wondering how many times I got to deposit to that today, but try to keep it light and fun. So
as many times as you want. Thomas yells at me, but as many times as you want.
I feel like, Zane, you're trying to be the bad boy and you're just not a bad boy. You're like too good of a guy and you curse. I'm like, nah.
Here's the thing. I've always been a little bit of somebody who likes to stir the pot. And so I got to do, for every time I stir the pot, I got to do something good in return. So like the swear jar is the perfect example. I get to say bad words, but then it's like, you can't really be mad at me because I'm giving money to charity. So got it down to a science, Kaitlyn.
Very good. Very good. I met your parents many times. First time in October of 2022 at the MLP in Ohio. And I was like, he's such a good guy. He's like, your parents are just amazing. They're good people. And I'm not swayed by your cursing. I don't think that you're just too good of a guy, Zane.
I don't think they appreciate it, but that was actually the first time that I had met you as well. That was, I think, kind of when you came on to the pickleball scene. So if for that Major League Pickleball in 2022 Columbus, you were the person hyping up the crowd. You were obviously the pickleball chick, still are. And were you involved with the Vegas Night Owls at that point, or about to be? Because you had Kim Kleisters there at that event with you as well, which was huge for pickleball at that point.
Yeah. So basically, I created Pickleball Chick I found pickleball in March of 2021, created Pickleball Chick in February of 2022. Was just so obsessed with the sport and was like, I need to find a way. Like, I just want to share the joy of the sport, get involved. I don't know how or why or where, whatever yet. And then in May of 2022, I met Steve Kuhn at the New York City APP Open. And I went up to him and I just thanked him for everything he was doing for the sport. Like, I was obsessed with MLP at that point. You know, I knew that he had created Duper, and I just loved how, I think at the time too, they went on Wall Street and rang the bell. So I was just deep. I watched every YouTube video. I read every article online about pickleball, and I knew he was like the daddy of pickleball. So I went up to him and I was like, thank you for everything you're doing for the sport. Like, I need to be involved, but I have a full-time career in finance that I've built over the last 10 years. He's like, come work for me at Major League Pickleball. I'm like, no, I can't leave my career. But, you know, keep me in mind. So we kept in touch. And then when he was selling teams, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I think I could put together a badass ownership group. Let me try. He was like, of course. So called up my best friend, Callie Simpkins, who I played soccer with at Duke. And that was sort of like our entry into Major League Pickleball. But before we even got involved, you know, when we were going to purchase a team, I had wrote on my Instagram stories, like somebody wrote like, what would you want to do in pickleball, or what are you trying to do? And I said, I would love to be the host of MLP. There is a woman by the name of Allie Love that does it for the Brooklyn Nets. And I saw how she hosted at the Brooklyn Nets games. And, you know, I've been a sports fan my entire life, played every sport in the book. And I realized that hosts can actually really elevate the level of an atmosphere. And I felt like I had that energy. I had that passion for pickleball that could really do it for Major League Pickleball. So actually Brooks Wiley just saw my Instagram post and reached out to me before the conversations of buying a team even started. So I was hosting that tournament, and then it all sort of, spiraled into buying a team after that and whatever. But our team didn't start until January of the next year. So
Gotcha. Well, I remember that MLP for the very first time, and for like the first day, I was like, who the hell is this? She has way too much energy for pickleball. Like, you took it from 0 to 100 and like immediately overnight, and like I needed a second to adjust, but by the end of the weekend, I was like, all right, she's doing a great job. And we actually just hosted an event together a week ago in Chicago. It is an unbelievably difficult thing to do. Look, I can get on here and I can talk on a podcast decently enough, but hosting an event is brutally difficult. You make it look easy. So I'm glad that you were there to carry me, just like Thomas carries me in this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
No, you did a great job, but it's so much fun. And I think it just comes because I love the sport so much. And I just really care about it. So that event was awesome. Everyone said that was sort of the event that catapulted MLP to be what it is today. And I sort of believe that. You saw so many players sticking behind. Usually players after an event, they want to leave. They don't want to watch other players play. They're over it. They have long years. And that was an event where everyone stayed. The environment was insane. It's still one of my favorite events to this date.
Yeah, that was an awesome one. But can you like talk me through a little bit more about how you then sort of got involved with the Vegas Night Owls and basically like what happened? Like, now it's all over that you're obviously no longer with the Night Owls, but are you like still hoping to be involved in Major League Pickleball? Like, what's KK up to these days?
Yeah, so we purchased the team. I know this is what everybody wants to talk about. Unfortunately, I'm not going to say anything about it. The only thing I'm going to say is that it's been, for me, a very depressing 2 months. I feel like I gave my heart and soul to not only the league, but really the team. I invested so much into it, more than investing in myself and my personal brand. But I realized, like, as an athlete my entire life, like, there's 2 things that you can always control, and that's your attitude and your effort. I have my passion, I have my knowledge, and I have my integrity. So I can walk away with my head held high. I hope to one day be back in the league, doing something in the sport again. But for now, I'm going to be really concentrating on my own brand, building out Pickleball Chick. I'll drop the news here first. I'm going to be building out my own podcast. It's going to be called Talk Pickle to Me, which I just cannot wait for. 2 years ago, I started interviewing pros for the first time when nobody cared about them. No one even knew their stories. And I was like, somebody needs to tell these amazing stories of these pros. Get the word out there. Zane was one of the pros that I interviewed, Anna Bright. And that was so much fun for me. And I created Pickleball Chick to be a podcast. And then life got in the way, the team, I focused on the team really being the best GM I could be. And now I'm going to build something for myself that absolutely no one can take from me.
I love
So
it. Well,
is
when
this?
can we? Oh, go ahead, Thomas. Sorry.
God dang it, Zane. Is
All you?
this is like all the things you're doing in pickleball right now? Is that full time? I know you come from what, a finance background.
Yeah. So I worked on Wall Street for 4 years after Duke, in New York City. Then I took a job in Philly at JP Morgan. I'm still at JP Morgan, working as a financial advisor for ultra high net worth individuals. Absolutely love my boss and my team. JP Morgan is amazing. So I'm very busy, which I was much busier when I was the GM, obviously. But I think that I don't do anything outside of pickleball and work. Everyone's like, oh, what do you do for fun? Like, I don't go out. I don't party. I don't drink. I don't do anything that's crazy. I literally play, talk, watch pickleball and do my job. Ultimately, I'd love for, maybe pickleball to be my top priority. And I feel like that could be coming in the near future. I have really good partners signed with Yola, Podplay, Knock Around, have a couple others in the works. And then I think this podcast could sort of take it to the next level. And hopefully I get to play more, because I think like people in the sport, it's funny. And I think that people know me as like a person that loves pickleball, as this host, as this, I was a owner, a GM, but like, it's funny because my persona outside of pickleball, I'm like, my brand and what people know me as is an athlete. Played every sport in the book growing up, like scored 50 points in like a high school basketball game, was an All-American at Duke. And like people in pickleball don't believe me when I say like, I really think I could play like low level pro if I actually drilled and like played. So I'd love to like play more. I'm also like a lifelong learner. People, I don't know. I feel like everyone's like, oh, you're just so fun and you're happy. And I'm like, I love to learn. I'm like an athlete. Like, so I want people to know that side of me too.
So
Yeah.
it
Well,
sounds like eventually you're going to be opening up like your own business here. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
You're just trying to figure out what that's going to be, if not the podcast itself and sort of the media play, but something beyond that. I feel like that's what we're building up to.
For sure. I've thought about, am I going to create a lot of influencers? So I don't know if you guys know Alex Cooper. She created Call Her Daddy, the biggest female podcast and one of the biggest podcasts in the world, maybe only behind Joe Rogan. Maybe she signed the biggest, I don't know this last one, but anyway, she went to my high school. I played soccer with her. We were friends, but now we're acquaintances. Obviously she's gotten to a level of fame that's kind of crazy. But we always had a very similar persona. She always looked up to me. She was like, you're crazy. And like, you're a go-getter, you're smart, you're aggressive, all of these things. And she just went for it. She didn't give a shit what other people thought.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of been sort of my persona. Like I kind of talk a lot before I think, which this podcast, I made sure not to do that.
Oh, come on. That makes for the best podcasts.
What'd you say?
I said that makes for the best podcasts.
It does, but there's certain things you can't talk about right now. But no, so I feel like I want to create my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. And like I said, I'm after this last thing, working so hard. You can be so successful. You could be so passionate. You could do everything right. You could succeed, and someone can just, it cannot be there the next day if you don't own it. So I am going to pursue the things that I love and that I'm passionate about, and do it with people that I love. I've met the most amazing people in this sport. I'm so grateful for the people that I met. So I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would love to have more people get to know you on the player side, because the highlights are pretty incredible. I don't really know what I expected, but it was all confirmed when I saw you like diving around the court at the pickleball. We need more of that content, Kaitlyn.
Yeah. Ben Johns always tells me, he's like, as soon as I saw that, I knew that you were terrible at pickleball. Like, you should never have to dive. You should never, like, you're in the wrong positions. You don't know how to play. So there's a lot of haters out there that still don't believe it. But I think with a good coach, like I'm a great learner. I would do everything to learn. So I'm looking for a really good coach that wants to spend some time with me to take me from that low, like that 5.0 low pro level to like a mid pro level. I feel like I could get there.
Yeah, I feel like you're in a rough spot for it though. Jersey's not a pickleball hotbed. There are plenty of people playing, but there's not a ton of like super high level competition. I was actually at a couple times at the Randolph Tennis Center. They've got some good good low level pro players there, and a good solid spot. But there's not a ton of pro players from Jersey.
It's very, very bleak. That's actually been a problem I've been facing recently. So when everyone knows the trajectory of a pickleball player. You first start out, you're in your glory days. It doesn't matter who you're playing with, where you're playing. You're having the time of your life. Then you start to get better. You're in that 3-5, 4-0 level. Like, you're playing some tournaments. You're still having a blast. You might complain about your partner a little bit, but you're learning new shots. It's like amazing. I'm at the point now where, like I said, I'm like 5-0, low pro level, like can compete in like pro qualies, whatever. And once you're at this level, you no longer really want to go to open plays that much. You only want to play with specific people. You want to drill with good people that like are drilling to get better, that are working on shots. It's cold here like 6 months out of the year. So yeah, it is very bleak. Frank Anthony Davis, like an OG pro, is I don't know, he's like 2 hours south. It's very difficult. We can meet in the middle at like a 1 hour spot. Actually, Kate Fahey. So Kate Fahey, I played with her for the first time last summer. She didn't know what pickleball was. And she played for the first time. And then I talked to her like a week later and she got signed with the PPA. And I was like, this is unbelievable. This girl has never even played a pickleball tournament yet. And she gets signed by the PPA. This is in the middle of the drama. But she moved back from New York City. So I've been drilling with her some. There's some good 4-5 guys, 5-0 guys, but nothing great. And what I've learned from being around the pro game so much is you get better by drilling and playing with better players that can test your hands, that you can like, obviously you still want to play with people like your level and a little below you, but at the same time, Georgia has the fastest hands maybe in women's pro because she gets to drill with JW all the time. Annalie obviously is an anomaly to me. I just think she's incredible. But like the people that are playing with the pros and getting that consistent, really good play, really good drilling are the people that are going to continue to be great. And that's why a lot of pros are moving. They're moving to the hotbeds, Austin, Florida, maybe California. There's still some good players in Utah, like, some Arizona. Like you can, if you're not in those locations, it's very difficult to get good, consistent play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So you are obsessed with pickleball. You're kind of on the periphery. You go up to Steve Kuhn. You call him Pickleball Daddy, which we should trademark. But like at some point, the light bulb goes off. You're like, I'm going to go to maybe some of them were your clients, right? They'd probably be like the perfect people to approach. But I'm going to go find a group of investors. They're going to bet on me that I'm the person to pull this all together. And we're going to buy a Major League Pickleball team. So that would be like the definition of go-getter, right? What Alex Cooper probably thinks you are. So like, what is the process of actually saying, okay, I want to try and put together an ownership group. I want to go get these investors and then I want to acquire a team. Like, what was that actually like?
It was, I don't want to say easy, but it wasn't that difficult because I love the sport so much. At this point, I was, a year and a half deep into being obsessed with pickleball, reading everything about it. So I kind of felt, I felt very educated on the sport. Like there weren't a lot of questions people could ask me about the sport that like I couldn't answer. And if I didn't know them, I'd say it. But at this point, everyone was investing in teams off of the belief and the hope in the future. There were no numbers behind it. No teams are, still very few teams are making any real revenue. Obviously, sponsorship has been a huge push for some of these teams, but most teams still aren't making a lot of money. No one's, writing home on merch sales. There's no ticket revenue coming back to teams yet. So like, it was all in speculation that this is a hot sport. It could be a major league sport. I saw what the NWSL, the Women's Pro Soccer League, had went through for 10 years. They started leagues, they collapsed, they went bankrupt, multiple iterations to get to NWSL today. And now teams are, I think the last one was valued at like 100 million, the LA team. So, and it started off with them playing in the shittiest venues, playing at like Rutgers Stadium, having horrible housing. Like I've seen what my pro soccer friends went through. So I sort of saw it as, there's people that are invested in this sport that understand how big this can be because of the access, right? If we just get the people that are playing the sport to actually watch the sport, that's all we need. We don't need to convert, soccer fans to pickleball fans. But to answer your question, it wasn't that difficult because we had connections. We knew that we could rely on some of the people that we know to invest in this. And honestly, we had more than enough. Capital wasn't the issue. It was who did we want to partner with strategically to put ourselves in the best position to grow the league and grow our team.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think probably the biggest name on your cap table was Tom Brady. Did you ever get to interact with him? Or is it like totally, it was just his investor group and his name was slapped on it? He recorded that video and was like, see you later.
Yeah. I really would love to answer all of these questions, but I just feel like this is not the best time for me to do it. So I'm going to try to not talk about the Night Owls. But yeah, it was not my connection whatsoever. And great to be, he is an absolute legend. I'm so impressed with his, what he did for football and his story. Really resonated. I bought his book before I was even attached to the team because I just loved how much how much passion he continuously brought to football. And I think what he's doing today, being a broadcaster is absolutely incredible too. The way he carries himself. I really, really respect and love him. But I didn't get to talk to him, no.
So that was a lot of good compliments, but it sounds like he recorded the video and said, see you later. But you don't have to. You don't have to. Confirm, don't know. You don't have to confirm or deny.
Yeah, but look. He that 10x to the followers. That did launch. That's huge. That's something that people would pay millions of dollars for to be on Tom Brady's feed. So sure, he says that and see you later, but that's a legitimately probably a 7-figure asset right there. I guess it's not necessarily, I'm getting into my accounting terms, but it was a great asset.
I think at the time when we had purchased the team, I believe that Kevin Durant was already announced. I cannot remember if LeBron was announced. He was announced. LeBron was also announced. So you had a good backing of A-listers, I would call it, like household names that people already knew. Obviously, Tom is incredible. But yeah, I feel like there was already a lot of celebrities involved in MLP. And it wasn't this, difficult ask to get capital. I think there was a lot of people that would have invested in it at the time. And once news dropped that we were buying a team, so many people reached out to me. They're like, how can we get our hands on one? And then I feel like the next level and the next group of people that bought, really had to have a strategic plan of why they were buying, really had to be a bigger name, not just a mom and pop shop buying a team. They had to have some connections. And I think the next set was the St. Louis Shock and maybe the Chicago Slice, if I'm correct.
Yeah, they were a little bit after you, both of those teams, I believe.
And they've invested a lot. Those teams, I give credit to those teams. We obviously, Zane and I went to Wrigley Field in Chicago, and it was the St. Louis Shock versus the Chicago Slice. And, those ownership groups are putting a lot up front for hopes of a return, to get something out of it in the future. But I think they see the long-term play. And I think that's kind of what you have to do in this position. You may not see, anything for a decade, 5 years, 10 years. But I think at the end of the day, if you believe in the sport, DC Pickleball teams, another team that I think does a really good job, Orlando Squeeze, there's a few teams that definitely that do it better than others.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you can sort of tell what people are sort of in this for by their actions within MLP, right? You have the teams that are frankly blowing money, right? But they're really trying to take this to a more legitimate professional sport, paying for travel, taking teams out to dinner, having these events. None of these events are making money. Like you said, none of the merge sales are making money, but like you're building a brand for down the road. And the teams, the Chicago Slices or Squeeze and Jersey Fives, and I'm missing plenty of them, but the expense that they have of bringing us to Wrigley Field is helping the entire league. And, you do have some of the owners of other teams that might have gotten in before this was the same sort of investment that it's become. And so you have an interesting sort of contrast between owners of the super invested, and then the ones that are like, this kind of ballooned out to something that I probably can't financially support. I still want to be involved. I still love pickleball, but it's kind of either do nothing with the team, sell the team, or kind of get out. So, I mean, you can tell who's in it for the long haul by the amount of money that it seems like they're willing to lose in the short term.
Yeah, I think, again, I think my learnings from the NWSL are helpful in this case when I'm thinking about it. There are owners that are going to be what I think like bought out by strategic investors in the future that are willing to spend a lot of money up front for the benefit of the team and the league in the future. So, we're seeing some of that. We're seeing some, take some money off the table and bring in some smarter, bigger names, bigger people that want to start building brands in the local community and start and really start marketing it, which I think is really helpful. And I think, it's going to take a long time. I think the sport is just at its infancy, in my opinion. I was in Dubai earlier this year for the World Pickleball Tour debut, and Asia is going to absolutely blow up. China is going to blow up. It is going to be insane, and I think the United States is going to be I don't want to call it a small player, but I just think that Asia is going to absolutely take this sport by storm. They're huge into racket sports already, and they're just getting started. So I've actually thought, I'm like, should I just move to Asia right now and just, start doing a lot, because there are so many people going over there consistently to scout it out, to invest. And that's an area of focus for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your recent travels? Because you've been, as you mentioned, like there are a couple other things. You had gone to the Katy Perry event in LA, Necker Island event, but most recently you were in Dubai for the launch of the Pickleball World Series, and then you were in India for the Monsoon Pickleball Championships. Like,
how was Dubai? Was it fun?
Dubai was sick. Thomas, how was Dubai?
It was interesting.
We had a fun night out. Thomas was like, "Where are we?" I'm like, "I don't really know, but everyone's talking about this place." Yeah, we had a very good time. Pickleball, like I said, I feel like it's just taken off there. We actually went to an indoor facility and we played some together, which was fun. I think that's the only indoor courts that were in Dubai. I think
so.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They were in this like small warehouse. And we played, what was that called? I don't know if you left before we played, but we played small tennis.
Mini tennis. Yeah.
Yeah, mini tennis. That was really interesting. Really softball. But yeah, I've been traveling all over. I went to India. India is where I really, it opened my eyes that the United States of America, even though it's the best country in the world, is going to be no one in the United States really understands what's going on elsewhere. No one understands how much focus is on pickleball outside of the United States, in my opinion. So going to India, seeing how many they had a day dedicated just to women in pickleball, and I loved it. They had this tournament because, sports for women overseas sometimes aren't just people are not expected to play. So I love that. What else? India was just, it's going to blow up there. Then, obviously there's a ton of focus on getting it into China. Steve Kuhn, I know, has been to China a bunch. I spoke on the Pickleball Minds conference. I'm going to speak there in January in Dubai. But they had a meeting in Hong Kong where they had leaders from all over China come. There's a bunch of people that are sort of, I think like Scott Moore's son, I want to say, lives in China and has been like focusing on growing pickleball in China for the last like year or so. I just met somebody in Major League Pickleball New York City when I was there watching that is creating like a fund that's investing in all of China for pickleball, that's creating a bunch of indoor courts. So I just, you know, if you're deep in the know, you know that a lot of people are focused on Asia. And then, my sponsor, Yola, they are definitely focused on growing the sport in Asia. Tom Wynn just moved out to Hong Kong. So I think it's just going to continue to spread. I went to Chicago, like you mentioned. I hosted the Bristol PPA tour. I've been hosting a bunch. I've been getting a ton of requests for hosting, and I absolutely love to do it. So obviously I did the Katy Perry event. I did Necker Island Pickleball Forum. That's coming up again this year in February. I think February 27th it starts, which is like the best literal trip I've ever been on in my life. I think if anybody could go on a trip in a lifetime and I could grant that to somebody, like that is the trip to go. The hospitality is second to none. I'm a very outdoorsy person. Like I love to hike, bike, do water sports. Like I learned to kite surf, did the hardest bike ride of my life with Richard Branson and Drew Brees, which was mind blowing that Richard Branson's 74 years old. And I consider myself like pretty in shape. I'm very active. Like I work out all the time. And this bike ride was so difficult. And he did it with like ease. Apparently he does it like 3 times a week. But yeah, I've been going all over. I've been really enjoying hosting. That's something I want to continue to do. I just want to be involved in this sport. I can see myself being involved until like I die because I just love it so much.
Okay, so I want to ask you about, did either of you ever skateboard growing up?
No.
Okay.
I'd say I did.
If you skateboarded, you knew that the Pinnacle was getting sponsored, whether it was by like the local skateboard shop or, you know, Element decks, right? Kaitlyn, you mentioned that you have all these different sponsorships right now, right? I think you mentioned like Podplay, Yola. I think there's a bunch of people who listen to the podcast who love pickleball or are trying to figure out their angle, figure out, okay, could I make this, if not a full-time, some sort of like part-time way of making money and potentially building a career beyond that. When you, as Pickleball Chick, are approaching like a Podplay or a Yola or some of these other brands, what are you bringing to the table? And like, what do those sponsorships look like? Obviously, you're not a pro like Zane, where you're competing in Major League Pickleball and PPA Tour. You're more of a personality. But like, what is that? What are you kind of offering to them? And then what does that relationship look like?
Yeah, so I'd say everyone that you mentioned was them coming to me. They saw me, whether it was at a tournament hosting, at a tournament playing, speaking on different panels, Pickleball Minds conference. I spoke on the Las Vegas Pickleball Convention. I spoke at Nationals when the PPA hosted that business forum. Many people see me at those type of events, and I feel like they see my passion, they see my knowledge of the game, they see my connections, and they're interested in getting like a part of that. A lot of these deals have some sort of social media access or social media deliverables associated with it. For example, with Podplay, I'm filming a series called The Joy of Pickleball. The first episode is dropping tomorrow, but basically I'm going to a partner facility that uses Podplay technology and filming an episode there to share the joy of pickleball. And so obviously that'll include social posts and things like that. But I'd say that really, you know, my advice to people that want to get involved in the sport, because I get a lot of people asking me like, hey, I want a job in pickleball, or hey, I want to get involved. And it's sort of like from the outside may seem like I've made it. I feel like I haven't done anything yet. I really feel like Pickleball Chick is just at the very, very beginning, which is a really good feeling to have. But I just say be yourself. Don't try to be anyone else. Don't look, I've had blinders on. I don't care what other people are doing. I don't care what other pros are doing, other content creators. I do me. And I think my passion and my love for the sport and my genuine care to grow the game and to share the joy of pickleball has always shined through to people. And I think my sponsors see that when I'm hosting, see that when I'm on panels, and they can really feel it. I remember in the Pickleball Minds conference in New Jersey, like they asked me about my story and I like cried during it because like that's how much I love the sport. And I was super embarrassed. And like 20 people came up to me after that and were like, wow, like we can really feel that. So I'd say, put yourself out there, do you, be you. Doesn't matter if it's too loud for some people, too quiet for others. If people, the amount of people, this is one thing I will say. I created Pickleball Chick. 100 people reached out and said, that's such a shitty name. That is so childish. And then I was posting cringe-worthy, go deep into my posts. I posted the most cringe-worthy TikToks. So many people would message my friends talking shit about how weird I am and how stupid I am. All of these things. I never cared. I just did. I kept posting, kept doing it. And like I posted a photo the other day and somebody messaged one of my friends and said that it was weird and, whatever. I don't care because not everything you post is going to be great. Not everything you do is going to be great, but it takes vulnerability to keep creating, keep putting yourself out there, keep doing you. So I just say that, like, be consistent. That's one thing that, over the past year, like I said before, I was focusing on being the best GM I could be, being there for the team. And I sort of I wouldn't give myself an A+ on my own brand, Pickleball Chick. And I'm getting back to that now. So I would just say, everyone, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
you have to create something too. I mean, so many people reach out to me about getting sponsored now, and they know that I'm with ProXR, and ProXR sponsors plenty of people. But what's unique about you? Like, sponsorship is, there's something in return. Like, you'd be the best person there is, but like, what do we get in return? And so create something and figure out what it is that you like to create that on your own, and then wait for somebody to come to you for doing what you like to do. That's where the best partnerships come, right? Like, so somebody, if you start creating YouTube videos and somebody says, look, I want to put ball machines in all your videos. You're already doing videos. You're already creating that. Like, well, that's why partnerships like I have with Lobster for those YouTube videos is phenomenal. So create something that you like to do. And then when it lines up with somebody, be patient, be picky, and it won't feel like additional work either, which is the nice part. So, but you got to do something not necessarily unique, but just something that's important to you. So even if it doesn't necessarily work out, like, it's still something that you enjoy doing.
Agreed.
Okay, so for the people who don't understand what a GM does, what fell under your umbrella, and how do you think that differed from like the average GM? Do you think it differs across the board? But like, what were you responsible for? What did the day-to-day look like?
Yeah, being a GM in the league is, there are so many different iterations of it, because some teams have GMs, some teams have GMs and coaches, some teams have GMs, coaches, and COOs. And some people, like I said, have it all falling under one person. Doesn't matter what you give the title to. I was in a situation where I was literally doing everything. So, anywhere from drafting the team, which, by the way, drafting a pickleball team, if you want to do it really, really right, especially in challenger level, where there are so many options and, there's constantly new talent coming through the pipeline, I can't even tell you how many thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of work that took, because I'm watching film, I'm calling players. I mean, so much of it, I believe, is based off of good teammates, good chemistry. Can you create good chemistry within a team? Because I believe the margins in Major League Pickleball, talent-wise, are so small. yes, you have to draft a good team. You have to have the left side, do they get along? The partnerships, can one play left side? Can they also, how good are they in dream breakers? Whatever. There's a million things you need to consider. But I also want to know, are you hungry? Are you dedicated? Are you drilling constantly? Are you constantly learning? Do you want to be a better player? Are you just doing this for the money? How long are you invested in? I mean, there's so many things that go into it. And so I would have hour-long phone calls with, I can't even tell you how many players. So anyway, drafting the team, building that team. So in the first year in 2023, I held like a week-long bonding week in Austin, Texas, where we had everyone come down. We had dinners, we did extracurricular activities, all of that. Obviously, going to the events, organizing stays, or Airbnbs, hotels, whatever you want to call it, organizing travel. That could be anything from, setting up the cars, setting up flights, then obviously hosting dinners, anywhere, like ordering uniforms, getting sponsorship set up, communicating with the ownership group, to the team, to other people that support it. Like, there's hired out people like social media teams. What are you guys putting out? How often are you putting it out? What's the structure of that? What's the strategy behind it? There's probably other things that I'm missing, but it's just a lot of work. You constantly have to be in touch with your players, like not only when they're playing Major League Pickleball, when they're playing PPA, APP events. You want to keep in touch with them. You want to make sure that they're, that they're feeling good. Like, I'm friends or I don't even know, like, I'm very close with the players that were on my teams, because I genuinely believe that people that love each other and people that care about each other will fight harder for each other on the field, or on the court. Sorry, I'm used to soccer. We had a psychologist come to our Duke soccer, meetings, right? And at the time, I'm like one of the best, if like players on my Duke soccer team. And at that time, I thought psychologists were a bunch of BS. I was like, psychologists are for the people that suck, that don't play on that don't play on the field, that don't know, all of these things. That was my mentality when I'm a naive college student. I was like, this isn't helpful, blah, blah, blah. Get to this point in my life, after graduation, after not playing, and I realized the benefit of a psychologist. I realized the benefit of talking through things with your teammates. Anyway, the point of it was the psychologist asked our team, do you believe you just need to respect your teammates to be a great team, not a good team, to be one of the top teams? Do you need to respect them, or do you need to love them? I was always on the side of love. You can respect somebody and you can get so far, but the teams that really love each other are the teams that I think are going to succeed. So I don't know. That's a reason I think the St. Louis Shock is gonna win Premier this year, because
Whoa.
I believe that they love each other. I believe that they really deeply care about each other. Zane, I think your team is absolutely amazing. I think Ryan Harwood has he cares so much. He was an athlete. He was a tennis player. His passion. He was cheering so loud. Like, I actually joined the DC pickleball team's cheering section in that last day, because I love Al Tylis and I love Adam. But what you guys didn't like, literally Anna Leigh was serving through us cheering against her. Like, and it was all in good fun, right? Like, but anyway, your team is going to be a top team too. You guys might win it, but I just love the Shock. I love the chemistry that they have on that team. You guys though showed me a different side that I also believe in you guys too. But yeah, so that's all the things that the GM does. Building the chemistry is huge too. I mean, you can have an A+ coach, you can have an A+ GM, all of that, but if they're not building good dynamics within the team, that's huge. And I think Ryan Harwood's a good differentiator of that. The one thing I do want to mention is that there is only one female GM left in Major League Pickleball. 22 teams, one female GM. There is 0 people that are on the executive team at UPA that are female. There is Ann Worcester. Again, I don't know her exact title. She might be the only one, but there's no females on committees. This is something that needs to change in pickleball, because everyone always wants to highlight that it is an equal playing field for females and males. in the sport of pickleball. And it is on the player side. Females and males get paid the same. I believe on the sponsorship side, that's also true. But we really need to help elevate females in pickleball. And I'm going to try to do the best that I can with my podcast and with my brand in the future of that, because I think there are a lot of eligible women out there and they need to get access.
Gotcha. Well, we'll come back to that, but I wanted to talk about something that you mentioned earlier, and then we can talk about how exactly to get more females into these sort of leadership positions. But you drafted a hell of a challenger team, and I think that it's interesting because I find that a much more difficult job, and a job that some certainly take more seriously than others. Meaning, like, if you go into a challenger draft and you're just drafting names that you've heard, you're gonna look for probably a bottom 3 finish, right? You can get by with the names that you've heard, but the talent moves around so quickly at the lower level of Major League Pickleball. You probably had to spend a ton of time scouting unknown names. I mean, not too many people at the time that you drafted them would have known of Zoe or Mo, and would have known what I think Anderson Scarpa still is one of the most underrated players in pickleball. And then Judith at that point also had very little results other than singles. And so you more or less had one somewhat known commodity in Anderson Scarpa, and then 3 flyers that worked out very, very well. So, I mean, when you compare that to premier level for the most part are people that you totally know. You have years and years of data on Tyson McGuffin. You basically know kind of what he is and where he's trending. All of the best teams have taken some risk on some player or another, right? For St. Louis, that you guys love so much, three of their players were somewhat risky, or at least unknown. Gabe and Hayden were known, but like, if you would have told me that would have been one of the best MLP men's teams at the beginning of the year, most people would have said that that's probably not accurate. But then since that time, Hayden's been playing amazing, Gabe's been playing amazing, and like you said, nobody knew who Kate Fahey was at the beginning of this year, and she's
except me. I was so pissed at Anna Bright. It's so pissed at Anna Bright because I would have drafted Kate Fahey. I was like, how the hell does Anna Bright know about her? I'm the only person in the world that knows about Kate Fahey. Anyway, yes.
But I mean, like, to be fair, she's probably just betting on the fact that she thinks Kate Fahey is a competitor and going to grind, right? There's not really any rational reason to pick her for her pickleball game at that point, but you're picking not always. I mean, at challenger level, it's probably 50% pickleball, 50% other stuff, right? Like, you have a person who is X duper, but what are they going to do to get to, Y duper, right? Do you believe that this person is going to be grinding? Do you believe that they're athletic enough? And do you believe that they're going to, obviously put in the time? And so I think those questions are just as important as your current duper, especially when it comes to challenger. So do you think it's a fair statement to say that, obviously there's plenty of importance on attitude and trajectory for premier, but do you think it's fair to say that the skill level of a player in challenger is less important to their selection than it would be in premier?
Their current skill level. Yes.
Current skill level.
Yeah, current skill level, because you are drafting in challenger and I guess in premier too, but like, you want a person to grow over their time with you. You don't want them to be at their peak. You don't want them to be at their max capacity when you're drafting them. Going back to the team that I drafted, Zoe was not known, right? Zoe was not that well known. I watched film on her she played with Brooke Buckner against Anna Bright and Rachel Rohrbacher indoors. I believe it was in Minnesota. And I watched that game and I was like, this girl plays like Ben Johns. This woman is unbelievable. Her backhand flick is like none. I've watched over 10,000 hours of pickleball for sure in my life. This girl is playing at the top level of even challenger. Like no one can do the things that she can do. And she moved to the United States. I knew that Yola had moved her to Maryland. And I knew that this was like her full-time thing. I talked to her on the phone. I walked through all those things. In UDIT, I knew that she was one of the best leaders. Like that's what I've always thought about UDIT. I think like her game style and her play is great. I love her backhand counter. And she's a right side person. Like she can play her role there. But I believe that she was going to continuously get better. I mean, same thing with Mo. No one really knew a Mo. He was a right side player, but lefty. And I thought that with Anderson is super consistent. Anderson loves I do not believe there are very few people that love pickleball more than me. I think I'm the most passionate person about pickleball. Anderson Scarpa loves pickleball. There is not one person that I know that like he eats, sleeps, and breathes it. You ask him any single person, he knows his record. He knows where and when they, if he won, if he lost, he knows the score. He knows who they are playing with. He is so deep into pickleball. He got absolutely screwed. He should be on a team, in my opinion. So many guys that played against him in Major League Pickleball, like hated playing against him. They told me that. They're like, we hate playing your guys. So, I think
he's smart and he doesn't miss. And he can also play good offense. He's got unconventional games, so people don't like it because you think you're going to dink to his backhand and you think that's just going to break down, but it's not going to break down. I've tried that strategy before, but quite honestly, I do think that I think it'd be very foolish, especially for the last pickup period, if he doesn't end up on a challenger team, because he's also growing with the sport, right? He isn't a top level player, right? But I think he's a top half challenger level player, and he's continued to adapt with the sport. So I think that
he holds it.
Oh,
sorry, ahead. I was just going to say one thing about him that's different. It's like people that watch pickleball, I think you really like he's a player because of his unorthodox style. He has to hold the paddle differently because he sweats like he is the biggest sweater in pickleball. Everyone says Tyson, Deckel, like no, it's Anderson Scarpa. He looks like
by
a pool
a long shot. Having played against him, if you have to play against Scarpa in game 3, where he's on one side until 6 points and you switch sides, like you're taking a timeout. Like you're gonna go wipe down that court.
Tammy Emmerich actually complained about playing against him because she was on the opposite side of him, and she's like I know it's not your fault, Scarpa, but like it's like all getting on me when we're playing, and she was playing across the net. But like he has to hold the paddle differently because no matter how much grip and whatever he puts on, like the paddle falls out of his hand. That's why he has the grip he has, and his grip, like he has to reuse grip because he literally changes it so much. He like lets it dry on a thing. I've never seen somebody do that. And then like reuses that grip because
let's get this guy a grip sponsor, please.
I know. This is what somebody sponsor Scarpa's grips, please.
Dude's got a second mortgage for his grips. But yeah, I would seriously hope if there's any GMs listening to this, there's nobody that's more ripe for a pickup than Scarpa. And I think he got a raw end of the deal. But we also do have a bunch more end of season trades that have just happened. So we'll go through a few of these. We had Utah was all over the place. Today I called them.
Connor's just trying to get money. Everyone knows it. Connor just wants the cash.
He did not confirm or deny it, but I tweeted out today that if they were going to rename them to Utah in the Black Diamonds, because they keep making these trades and cashing out. But essentially, they traded Callie for Andrea and cash, and then Andrea to Brooklyn, and then got for Lina, and then traded Lina to California for Jeannie Arakina. And that was Utah. But the main premier trades were Orlando Squeeze trading Paris to Columbus for Megan Dazan, and then Carolina trading Jessie to Arizona. As a GM, what do you think of the Orlando Squeeze trade of Paris for Megan?
I think it's almost a wash. I don't think that, obviously they had Vivian David, right, is the second female in Orlando. And you kind of have two right side females playing there, but you're not really getting that much more with Megan Dazan, in my opinion. I think, maybe she can create a little bit more offense. I don't know. I forget who initiated that trade. I think it was, who paid for that? I don't know if there was any pay involved. But
it says Orlando Squeeze traded Paris Todd to Columbus Sliders for Megan Dazan and cash consideration. So it sounds like that the way that I read that is Orlando got Megan and cash, which would be somewhat surprising to me. I think that the wording on those was a little bit strange, and I don't know if I rely on them for who actually got cash, but I do think that this is a trade that helps out the Squeeze a little bit. I think Megan can play a good left side, and I think she's probably slightly better in mixed doubles, but obviously, dream breaker wise, she's not nearly as good of a singles player as Paris. So I do think that that's probably a doubles win. And then again, there's still a very good dream breaker team with Fed, Tyson, Megan, and then
Viv David is actually Viv David in Dreamburgers is actually sneaky good.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's a good singles player. The other trade that we had was a kind of a head scratcher for me, was Carolina trading Jessie for Kaitlyn Kerr on all
Arizona
they wanted
Drive. Was a better. Sorry to interrupt you. All they wanted was a better singles person. Mm-hmm. I know that for a fact. So they wanted, it doesn't matter. They think they're gonna lose their women's already. Their women's record's pretty poor. They are going to rely on winning men's, and then winning one mixed with Ben Johns, and then going to a dream breaker. And if they can have a better singles specialist, basically. And I think Kaitlyn Kerr can definitely play that singles role for them. But again, dream breakers, obviously they helped, the team that I was with a bunch. Having a good singles team definitely helps. But at some point, they're also sort of random. It's 4 points. It's not like these are long singles matches. But anyway, I do think that Kaitlyn Kerr is a better singles player than Jessie, although I think Jessie may be a better doubles player than Kaitlyn. But Kaitlyn's also on the rise. Kaitlyn has not hit her peak. She is grinding. This is her full-time thing. She was a star tennis player, playing pro. She's gone all in. I know, she was even flying, and when she'd have a little bit of a break, she would fly to Orlando to train with a coach. When I was doing my research for Night Owls in Challenger, I talked to her a bunch, and she's very, very dedicated. So it could make sense for the future and next year too.
Yeah, which is why it would be surprising to me if with Arizona getting rid of her. But I mean, I think you have to look at who Arizona might hold on to. I'd assume they'd hold on to Andre and Dylan if he took both of them early on, and then they are between Lacey and her for the third person that you could hold on to. Obviously, every team has to let go of one person that gets dropped into a free agency pool. To me, at the beginning of the year, it seemed like Kaitlyn Kerr was a shot in the dark, right? Like one of those players that you're banking on getting a lot better. And so if you make that bet, I'm surprised that they're not sticking with that bet and keeping her for the potentially 3 years. So I wonder on the Carolina side if they then put Ben with Brooke Buckner in mixed, and then Colin and Kaitlyn. Because the strategy for that team probably should be, have Ben win both of his matches and then win a Dream Breaker. So I do think that helps them, and I think it helps the Arizona team as well, having a little bit more steadiness in the in doubles. So
100% agree. I think real quick, like, this is where it helps to have a GM that actually knows their shit. Lacey and Jesse are friends. They enjoy playing together, number one. That creates a better dynamic on court. Brooke Buckner is very close with the Johns brothers. That's another win, right? She likes them. They like each other. That, you know, these people that hang out off the court, that's helpful. They want to compete together. They want to do things for each other on the court that if you don't like each other, you know, they wouldn't do it. So again, having someone that's deep in the know is helpful. Obviously, Morgan Evans is on the drive. He was a pro player, now GM, and you have Dave Fleming with the Carolina. Obviously, Ben probably makes all the decisions there, but I knew that they were trying to search for a single specialist.
Yeah. So obviously there were a lot of trades, and we're coming up on what I believe is the last waiver wire period. And I'm certain that there is going to be a ton of movement in Challenger, because nobody's really eliminated yet, with the exception of the Black Bears. Challenger is much more evenly distributed in their points than Premier is. So really they're playing for 4 teams get promoted to Premier League next year, and there are probably legitimately 8 teams that are still in legitimate contention. And so the teams that are at the bottom of that, you know, teams 5 through 8, I would assume are going to be looking to make a move. You know, we identified Scarpa as, I think, a no-brainer that could help pretty much any team in Challenger. You obviously, as the GM of the Night Owls previously, picked 3 sort of unidentified players. Are there any people that you think are more likely than not to get picked up during this waiver wire period, the last waiver wire period?
I actually think, you know, there's a few people. I think Jeannie Arakina obviously is getting dropped from Utah. I think she's she's very solid. The girl doesn't miss. Her drops get you into the kitchen.
Can I ask you that? Sorry. So how do we know that Jeannie is getting dropped from Utah for sure? Because I mean, yeah, how do we know that?
Well, I'm pretty sure that, again, I'm pretty sure that Connor said, like, we're going to be dropping. He said some cryptic text or Twitter post that said, like, we're going to be dropping our person and, like, picking somebody up. And then Leanne, the GM of the Bouncers, was like, you know, she wrote back, like, you know, why don't you tell your player that first instead of, like, posting it or something? I don't know. So I would assume that he's dropping Jeannie. Okay. And that's not clarified, but that message made me believe so. And so in that case, that is somebody that I would look to pick up if you want, like, a steady person. I mean, her drops are amazing. They get you to the kitchen every time. Her like, the thing that I think she needs to work on is just her footwork at the line. She backs up off the line a decent amount and she crosses over her feet. But I think a coach could actually work with her on that and fix it. You know, so there's other people.
For your reference, Connor tweeted yesterday, Utah Black Diamonds will miss Callie Smith. Good luck in Columbus. Utah will pick up a player off the waiver wire for our last event in 2024 and will look to add a new female to the roster next season, which is, strange to say, because technically their roster currently is Jeannie and Alex Trung. So yes. I don't know why that'll need some clarification. But yeah, I mean, I think Jeannie's a very solid player, and, like, one of those players who's somewhat like Anderson Scarpa, where, you know, they look unconventional, but they get results. Like, she does well, and it's a somewhat funky style. But yeah, some of her shots are nasty.
They're sick. I mean, her and Todd Fote, like, basically didn't lose. They lost, like, maybe 2 games or something together. They had an insane record. And I do think that consistency is very important. I value consistent players. Some players that are up and down are, you know, not my favorite picks. Cass Hogue is an interesting one. I don't think many people have sort of identified her. I think she is a female. Females are very sparse. It looks bleak out there, let me tell you. But there are a few that I think are worthy and deserving. Who else do I think? I mean, Michael Lloyd got a chance with the Pandas this past weekend. He's an interesting one. Who else is interesting? AJ Kohler. I just love the AJ is hilarious. But he was definitely a premier level talent. Then he sort of like got into his phase of like not caring. But he was at the New York City MLP event. And, I think in the late half of the season, there may be a GM that is just like, I'm going to take a flyer on AJ Kohler to maybe help us win, get into a playoff position and help us win this. And then, they don't need to keep him if they don't want to heading into Premier, but that could be a strategy.
He's one of those guys too that like AJ, he filled in for, I believe it was Andre when he was suspended at that Beer City mid-season tournament, and he did well. It's interesting. And the rap on AJ is like, some days you're going to get incredible AJ and some days you're going to get not great AJ, right? And so if a team is on the outside looking in for a last event, why not?
And here's the other thing that I would love to know. I mean, there was all this drama around, obviously a lot of the MLP teams in Challenger got a lot better when they allowed the woman that originally didn't sign up for the draft to come back in. So you had people like Megan Fudge, Yana Newell, Bobby Oshiro. You could go down the list, right? These people came back in. They made a lot of these teams a lot better. And there were some talks of like, oh, there may have been deals on the side. They're paying them on the side. Another one was Joe Braverman. And so like, is that cleaned up? Like, are they not allowed to incentivize players? If you can incentivize AJ Kohler, like that kid would care probably. So
yeah,
anyway,
I mean, or if you think about the potential increase, if you're a GM that's looking to sell at the end of this year, right? And you're currently sitting in Challenger, why not say to Lucy Kovalova, hey, look, we'll give you $25K to show up this weekend. Help us get into Premier. You don't have to play next year, but like we will pay you. You get into Premier, your valuation is probably a decent chunk higher now that you're in that spot, and you did it for $25K. It's not a bad idea. I do think they need to nip that in the bud, and I think it was ridiculous that the Fab Five were able to play. Quite honestly, good for them, but the league should not have let that happen. I think that was rough. But it's clearly still available. Why not go ask Lauren Stratman how much it'll take to play 2 events for you?
I mean, yeah, I was told that the PPA signed players that that chose not to do it are not allowed to come in. So that would include the Brashas, Lauren Stratman, Lucy Kovalova, but who knows? I think the most interesting thing for fans to focus on is going to be, I am so excited for this just to be a spectator and watch. It's like, so the top 6 make it to the playoffs, right? In Challenger. And the top 2 teams get an automatic slot into Premier the following year. Teams 3 through 6 have to compete, right? And I believe, and I guess I could be wrong, that like the third team gets to choose out of 4, 5, and 6 who they want to play. So it doesn't go 3 to 6 and 4 and 5 automatically. They get to choose. Right. But whatever, let's just say that happens. Those matches, whoever wins those 2 matches goes to Premier. Do you know how much pressure that is on players, on teams, on managers? Those 2 matches are going to be the most intense, insane, psychotic matches in the history of pickleball.
I'm looking forward to that. I think nobody quite yet understands just how intense playoffs are going to be. Playing the same team potentially 3 days in a row, 2 out of 3 series. I really can't wait for that because, the rap on this season of Major League Pickleball has been that we don't have weekend winners. Well, now it's finally coming to a crescendo and we're going to have that winner at the end of the year. And I think it's going to be, if you think regular season is intense, it's going to be wild.
I absolutely cannot wait. Like I said, I am the biggest Major League Pickleball fan. I love it so much. Hopefully I get to be involved with a team here soon, but just being a fan of it and watching it from the outside, there is truly nothing else like it to this day. So make sure you guys tune in to the playoffs and see Zane crush it. Zane, I have a quick question for you. Obviously your team's energy seems to be on a different level. You have Will Howes, who is one of my favorite players to watch. He has got obviously Notre Dame, right? A real athlete, right? We're talking real athlete coming into the game, quits his job, goes all in, has been dominating.
I'm gonna pause you right there and just ask, real athlete in contrast to what? UW Whitewater? Like, I thought this was a friendly interview, Kaitlyn.
I wasn't specifically saying it towards you, but I'm saying
these words carefully. A real athlete. You know what? I think it's more impressive that not real athletes can be pretty good at pickleball too.
100%. I agree with you at the pro level. I mean, I say that really because I do believe the women's game specifically has, and maybe it's because I'm a woman and I just look at it and I'm like, oh my God, watching some of these people move on the court is just very painful for me. But like, I believe that there's a long way to go. I believe that the sport will continue to trend to be more athletic. Obviously having Jack Sock come in at the beginning of this year was, exciting for me to see that. But Zane, you are an athlete, okay? Don't put yourself down. You got hops. I see you out there.
It's all right. Okay, go on about what you were saying before about Will.
I loved watching Will. So obviously you have Will Howes, you have Leigh Waters, who I forget who I was talking to about this, but no matter how many thousands of hours we watch Leigh Waters play, we just still cannot understand why she is so far above and away better than any other female. To this day, her gap just seems to continuously increase. I kind of noted that I think it's like her anticipation is off the charts, but interested to hear what you have to say about that. And then you have Mari Humberg, who has the most disgusting backhand flick ever. I still can't believe the way she hits the ball. But like, what is your guys' differentiating factor? Why are you guys able to win? New York City MLP, you guys took it to a different level. So what is it?
What's our differentiating factor? I mean, Anna Leigh and I were somewhat known commodities, right? Like, you know what you're going to get with Anna Leigh, you know what you're going to get with me. We were the ones that were kind of the known players. And Mari and Will were both kind of, I think they both had their normal jobs at the time of the draft. And, we talked to them, we asked like, hey, are you going to go all in if you get drafted? And they both said yes. And then I think they both quit pretty quickly after. Mari might have quit a little bit beforehand. I can't remember. But we were like, look, we have Anna Leigh. We spent a ton of money on her. We got me for a bargain deal. And we knew that Major League Pickleball has always been won by two things. Either Ben or somebody who picked somebody who overperformed from their draft position. Mm-hmm. Right? So playing it safe to finish middle of the pack. Nobody was interested in that. We were like, let's finish first or let's finish last. Ricky Bobby style. If you're not first, you're last. So we said, look, Will's having great results. Mari's having great results. Let's go pick these guys. They both played college tennis, which I think is like an important thing, not because of the tennis skill set, but the skill set of being on a team. And so when we talk about energy, when we talk about knowing how to win as a team, particularly in an individual sport like tennis, playing that college tennis, I think is very, very valuable. You get players who are great tennis players, but if they never figured out how to be on a team, they're probably going to be toxic to your team. So I don't know if that was exactly your question, but you asked basically like, what's the deal with our team?
Yeah, I'm just going to interject and say, like, Zane, it's you. You're the differentiating. You are still underrated in Major League Pickleball. I don't know how. I don't know why. I still think you are underrated. You are one of the best team players I've ever seen. Travis Rettenmeyer in PPA Bristol was having an absolute I've never seen him play worse in his life. He was horrible. It was laughable. It was disgusting. It was like, I was cringing. He's my friend. I was cringing watching him play. He like had this paddle that sucked, whatever.
We're going to cut this and tag Travis, just so you know.
Please do. It was the worst I've ever seen Travis. And it was literally laughable. And he like he was texting me after like, oh my God, that was the worst I've ever played. Bubble. You were so positive. You were so encouraging. Like if you want to know how to be a good partner in pickleball, watch Zane Navratil play pickleball. It's not that hard. Be encouraging. If somebody fucks up, if their paddle is shit, if they hit a ball into the net, don't put them down. Don't shrug your shoulders. Don't roll your eyes. Be encouraging. Say, you got this. The next one. I mean, you literally did that. And like, you guys were like laugh. Then you called like a timeout or a challenge just to get the timeout. Like, but you kept such a positive.
So this is one
there was no way you could play worse.
This is one that I couldn't believe didn't get picked up by memes of pickleball. But Travis I think we were down like something big. Travis literally hit a drive into the fence on center court. And the fence is legit like probably at least 12 feet behind the baseline, and Travis got it. And I was like, you know what? Challenge. we challenged it. I can't believe they called it. They didn't overturn it, but you know, it's what can you do? You actually mentioned one of my very favorite quotes that my tennis coach gave me back in high school. The only thing that you can control on the court is your effort and your attitude. And look, I want to win, and I think over the years I've figured out, you know, some sort of how to communicate with different people, how to figure out what different people need in certain circumstances. Back with BLQK even, I figured out that not everybody plays best when they're hyped up. I think most people generally do. I'd say probably 2/3 of players will play better with more energy, but Irina doesn't. Irina was the one person that needed to stay like very even keel. And so while me, Rafa, and Paris are like going nuts, it's like we just got to chill Irina out. And when she gets too fired up, she starts to not play quite as well. And so, you know, I think over the years of playing college tennis and playing, you know, pro pickleball, figuring out what everybody's style is, I think is one of my skills. And then look, it's easy too when you have ownership group that's super involved. You have Leigh Waters, who I think wants to prove something in Major League Pickleball. That's the only title that she doesn't have, right? And so if it's the only title that you don't have, yeah, she's going to be fully invested. And you got Will and Mari, who are making names for themselves. So it's an easy job with this squad. So
you're sweet and of course humble. I do want to just say that I am very impressed with Leigh Waters. I mean, you know, she continues to be the number one player. She is 18 years old, I think, or 19 now.
I think she's only 17, and she's only 17 still.
She's only 17?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's 17. She handles her, for the spotlight that she's in, she handles herself extremely well. She is great towards media. She's always thanking the refs. She has been great to her teammates. And this is her differentiating factor to me. She gives 110% for every single ball. There are very, very, very few players in pickleball that do that. They don't get down. She gives 110% for every ball. There's very few. Maybe Anna Bright, Rachel Rohrbacher, Kate Fahey. There's a very few that are going 110%. She's giving all she has, and she has been an incredible teammate. She has, you know, you compare it to some other people. She has done everything to get you guys to win, and maybe it's because she hasn't won this title, but I still think she'd do it the next year. And like, obviously, she loves her ownership group. She's close with Harwood, and you know, whatever. But still, I'm extremely impressed with Leigh.
Yeah, no, same here. I didn't know her or Leigh particularly well beforehand. I mean, we'd both been around for forever, but you know, when we played some of our first events together, and you know, Will was a new player who's never played with somebody as good as Leigh. It was kind of a an important moment because this is going to set the tone for the whole season. Yes, like Anna Leigh is used to having way better partners than Will, right? She's played with the best in the world for the most part. And so to be the support, like she never rolls her eyes, she never like talks crap. She's the epitome of extreme ownership, right? If Will misses a dink at the end of the point, Anna Leigh's pissed at herself because she didn't put away a ball or she didn't completely outright win the hands battle 15 shots earlier. And so like the only time you see her pissed is even if Will like misses a ball or it's something completely not her fault, she'll turn around and she'll be like, I should have put that one away. Like it's very, very impressive. And that's why she's the number one. That's why she's the best in the world. And obviously like having Leigh there to speak her language and coach her up and coach the rest of the team up is part of the, if you didn't get enough already from drafting Anna Leigh Waters, you get that as well. So, but,
and a
Leigh's
female
person,
coach, I love it.
You know, we talked about, you know, you mentioned very few females in leadership positions. A, why do you think that is? And then B, what do we do to fix it? Is it something that needs fixing? Meaning like, is there something going on that's dissuading people from these positions? Like, what's your whole take on this?
I mean, at the end of the day, like if you look across all major companies, like it was always the man's world, right? It's always been that way. But I do think, you know, the answer to your question is there's a lot more male owners than female owners in all of sports. This isn't just pickleball. In this sport, we have the luxury, or not even luxury. It's done right. They pay females and males equally. It's done like that in tennis. I came up in soccer where that was not the case to start, and the U.S. women's national team had to fight for that, and NWSL, same thing. But I think the difference is really just giving people opportunity. I know that, you know, when I was the GM and everyone was like, why do you deserve to be the GM? You know, what did you do in pickleball? What do you know in pickleball? Look at the other GMs. There are so many that have the same exact background that are males that are not being asked these same questions. And I am always like, look at this person, look at that person. They haven't done anything in pickleball. They don't know. First of all, I believe that I have watched more pickleball than 99% of these GMs in the last, 3 years, whatever it's been. I am obsessed. So maybe that's an answer. You don't just have to be an ex-pro player that played 4 years ago to be a GM these days. Also, pickleball is so new that everyone's new in the sport. There's no one that's been playing it for 20 years that has this deep, dedicated background. All of these pros that played it, majority of them started in the last 5 years. So no one knows the sport. This sport is going to be ever changing, ever evolving. So yeah, I just think it's really giving people the opportunities. There's no reason that somebody, can't be just as good of a GM as a person that's a random male that was chosen for whatever reason. Same thing as a COO. There's definitely women that could be coaches out there. Maggie Raminski is one of them. Caroline Penner is like Ryan Dawajen's fiance that like has done so much. She's worked at Google. She worked at Dyson. She's done like a lot in building brands and creating like, how you speak about yourself as a brand. She's a great person that should be in the sport. There are so many, like Jane, I forget her last name, Jane Holohan. She works at Pickle Pop in California. Like she is obsessed with the sport, knows it detail by detail. And she's got a great gig at Pickle Pop. I don't think she wants to leave, but like it's another female. There are a lot of females that deserve opportunities. And I think it's just, giving it to them. There's no reason why, there shouldn't be a female on a committee. Like, why is there not a female on a committee? These men are not smarter than the females, and they're just not given the same opportunities. I think, there was a time where there was an event in Long Island, New York for all of MLP owners, and literally me, Callie, and Kim weren't invited. And I was like, why is that? And it's just like, oh, we forgot, or there's all these whatever, but it was all the males. So I just think it's like, it's built into them. It's what they like to do, but it's not like, we know how to play pickleball. We can be invited to these events. We can do these things. They like to bet a lot. They bet like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on pickleball games. Like, just because we don't like to bet or we don't want to doesn't mean we shouldn't be involved in these things. So I don't know. I just think creating the opportunities, giving people the chance. And by the way, the league has been phenomenal to me. Like, maybe one day I'll work at the league, but like, I just think giving more women opportunities to be a part of the sport is big. And, women have to also speak up, say they want the opportunities. I think a lot of men in general tend to speak up more. They speak higher of themselves, like, oh, I can get that team's sponsorship deals. And like, they're just over exaggerating their abilities. And like, women don't tend to do that enough. And so, yeah, women should feel confident in themselves and also, network, communicate, tell people that they want those positions, and they should be open to hearing them.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting. It also seems to me like maybe it's Austin, maybe it's just where I've been. It seems like this sport also, maybe I'm wrong here, but this sport seems to grip and make guys lose their shit. Like, I do see more complete court junkies. I'd say it's 7 out of 10 of those people I think are men. There's something about this sport. I don't know. I would love for your opinion on that. To me, it seems to me like the men are more just like, I will drop everything, move across the country, divorce my wife, like everything for this game. Like that's a legitimate thing. I know men who have ruined marriages with children, like because they cannot like compartmentalize or just get away from this sport. So I'm not disagreeing with anything that you said. I'm just curious, do you see the same thing? Do you think that could potentially be part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, men are just like riskier. I think like women, especially at like later ages in life, have more to think about in terms of like, they have to have a family, or like, your child rearing years are only like up until 40 basically. So there's more, I feel like women are less likely to take big risks as they get later in life. That could be an overgeneralization, obviously. But again, like just because women have to have kids and like maybe can't move shouldn't limit their abilities. I think it's very important to have different voices in rooms. Women bring a completely different aspect, like our brains work differently. And I think it's healthy to have, disagreement. I think the worst leader is somebody that thinks they know it all and that thinks like they don't want somebody in the room to challenge them and to question their decision making. You want people that push back, that think differently. And I think, having a room full of white males, you're just not going to get that. And like, coming from like the similar backgrounds. So I think, yeah, I've seen it, I worked on Wall Street. Trust me, I've seen it there. I've seen it in soccer and the NWSL. I've seen it in many different forms over the years. And it's just something that I've noticed. There's, like I said, there's Casey Brown. She created the Necker Island Pickleball Forum. Shauna Wilson. She works at Break the Love. Like there's so many badass women. And I'm trying to figure out like how to gather all of these smart, driven, intellectual women that also love pickleball and like get their brains. Jamie Schmidt's another one. She's an owner of the LA Mad Drop. She created, Schmidt's natural deodorant. It was bought out by Unilever for like an insane amount. And now she's an investor with her husband, Chris, and they bought part of the team, part of the league. And she like loves pickleball. Like that's another woman that should be involved deeper in the sport. So they're out there.
I don't disagree. I think even though men are, it seems like typically more obsessive, it's still, even if it's only 7 out of 10 people are men, currently leadership is 99 out of 100 men. So yeah. I do think that that there's probably a tendency towards men being more obsessive with this, but also it's still disproportionate. And so would you consider like, are you a resource for somebody who wants to become for a female pickleball player, or somebody that just wants to be involved in deeper levels with pickleball? Because I think that's a pretty solid idea to sort of have a female networking pickleball group. That could be a solid angle there.
Yeah, for sure. Please use me as a resource. DM me. You can email me. I want people that are like dedicated, right? I don't want like someone, so many people reach out to me trying to get involved in pickleball, and I want people that really love it, that really want to get involved. But look, I have, just like Zane, I mean, I think what's unique about, my position in pickleball and why I wanted to create my own podcast is because I have people at the top making all the decisions, to the Discord junkies that are just obsessed. And so if there's somebody that somebody needs to get in touch with, like, I can definitely be used as that sort of resource. I have definitely, referred people to jobs in pickleball in the past, and I want to do that in the future too, and help people get more involved in the sport. So, I hope that I see more women as GMs, more women as coaches, more women in executive roles throughout the leagues, and brands. So, yeah.
Well, interesting. I hope to see it as well. I hope to see more women sort of put themselves out there. I mean, I look at, even the content side of things, and it's totally male dominated, right? On YouTube for the most part, but there's certainly not anybody stopping somebody from creating there, right? So it's, it's the opportunities are there, and I think it's time for some more people to take them.
YouTube is bleak with women, Zane. You're so right. Like, it's like, you have a great YouTube following. Tanner, that pickleball guy, Kyle.
There are like 30 dudes that have channels. I don't know if I could name.
I'm starting mine. Pickleball Chick, follow it. I got 0 subscribers right now, but I'm doing it. I'm starting to educate. Like, women need women to look up to, period.
Mm-hmm. Well, sweet. So where else can people follow you, Kaitlyn, as we wrap this up?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at pickleball.chick. I'm also on TikTok at pickleball.chick. On Twitter, same, pickleball chick. I am going to be creating my podcast. My handle is at Talk Pickle to Me, which I just love. It's a play on the words, like talk dirty to me. It's going to be like Talk Pickle to Me. And
Alex Cooper-esque. She'd be proud.
Yes, exactly. We're going to have some really fun conversations there. And then YouTube, I'm going to be growing, hopefully some really good educational content. That's going to be my goal, short and sweet. But again, I just remember myself as a young soccer player. There were no pros to look up to in soccer. There was only the national team. I loved Mia Hamm, and I just want to be like a female in the pickleball space. That's sort of someone to look up to, someone that can grow with the sport over time. So going all in on Pickleball Chick.
Love it. Well, Kaitlyn, thanks for coming on. Toss Kaitlyn a follow, and looking forward to seeing the podcast. And you, me, and a couple other people have something coming up pretty soon here. So we're going to be excited to unveil that. So stay tuned.
Oh, you're not going to tell him. I was wondering if you were going to bring that up, Zane, but we can hold the suspense.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
I'm excited for that too. Kaitlyn. Thank you for having me. Thank you all for being fans of the sport too. The sport's just at its infancy, and appreciate all that Dink and Picklepot are doing to grow the sport. And it's just because of fans like you that love it. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kaitlyn.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had fun.